Hey guys, so here we got my recipe for the Holy Inn Brewing Company Breakfast Stout. Before I mix in the oats and the rice hulls, I'll just go over the recipe with you. So as you see here, we have 10 pounds of mash otter. I was going to use 9, but they say if the first time you use a mash tun, you should add a pound of base malt just to make sure, just in case you don't get your efficiency, that you have that extra sugar there available. So my total grain bill is 13.1 instead of 12.1 pounds. Then I have a pound and a half of flaked oats, 11 ounces of chocolate malt, 6 ounces of caramel 120, so a lot of people wouldn't use 120 with all the other dark malts, but I feel that I want some of that toffee, caramel, dark fruit flavor that 120 has. Then I have 4.5 ounces of Victory malt, which is made by Brew, I believe, which will add some nice crackery, nutty, bready flavors. And then only 1/4 pound of roasted barley because I don't want it to be overly roasty. And even though I'm adding cold pressed coffee at the end, I still don't want so much roasty coffee. I want that like smooth coffee flavor, so I don't want too much roastiness. So that's why I have less than a pound of chocolate malt and only 1/4 pound of roasted barley. And I showed you in Homebrew Wednesday volume, my first episode of Homebrew Wednesday, I'm using 2 ounces of East Kent Goldings for bittering. Actually, I might use 1.5 ounces, and then move a 1/2 ounce to the 20-minute mark of the 75-minute boil with the East Kent Goldings, because when I first input it was like 48 IBUs and the really cap for the style is 40, so I'm going to probably move 1/2 ounce to the 20-minute edition. Then I made a starter with the Yeast 1335 British L2, and it fermented pretty quickly, and you know, smells really nice and yeasty. And then in secondary, I'm going to add 4 ounces of cocoa nibs, and then at bottling, so the bottling bucket, I'm going to add about 20 ounces of cold brewed coffee. But I'm going to take a small sample first, and and then put a teaspoon at a time of coffee in at a time, and then scale it up just to make sure I don't overpower my beer with coffee. Alright, so here we got the oats. I use these special oats by Simpsons called Naked Oats, which are a little more like rolled oats, so they had to actually be milled at the store. And then you see here all the other dark malts and base malts. And then I weighed out, I don't know if it's too much or too little, but I weighed out 5 ounces of rice hulls. I'm only using 1.5 pounds of oats, so I don't think I need a ton of rice hulls, especially if I have a lot of other grains to filter, which have husks to filter out. So I'm just going to use 5 ounces. It might be overkill, might be underkill, but that's what I'm going to do for now. So now I'm going to mix it up and continue waiting for the mash water to heat up. Alright guys, it's still a little low on temperature, but I'm going to dump in the grains and then check the temp again. Give me the mash panel. It's going to be a looser mash because I added about 3/4 of boiling water to it already, and I might have to add more, so we'll just collect however much we need at the end and get our final amount. Stir to avoid dough balls. Get all the grain wet. Alright, so I added another 2 cups of water. It's a very loose mash, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get the right temp for my first brew on this system. Otherwise I won't know how much it loses within the hour once I hit my target. So. Sitting at 155.3. Mix it a little bit. Alright, so it's at 155. I'm gonna do 155 instead of 156. It's good enough. So I'm gonna put the top on and maybe even put a blanket over the top for now. At least the first part of the mash while the sugars are converting, and we'll be good from there. Alright, so this is our first quart of wort. Nice, came out nice dark brown color. It'll darken a little obviously in the slowly pour this back over the grain bed. It's actually coming out pretty clear now. There's not so many grain pieces in it, so I'm probably just going to do maybe one more quart. Because I don't really see that much grain in there, which means that my liquid manifold is doing an amazing job filtering it. There was a little grain in there, so I'm going to take another thing until it runs clear, but I don't think we're going to need more than 2 or max 3. Number 2. I'm also going to have to sparge pretty slowly because I put a few too many holes in this pan. So I'm going to have to let it, and I equaled it out when I punched them, so there's this equal amount on each end, but I have a feeling there's too many holes, so I'm going to have to it's running pretty clear right now. There's still some grain in there. Further away. I'm gonna put that in there and then put this hose in here and then open the spigot here just a little bit and open this one a tiny bit. So keep it nice and slow.
You don't want to keep the temperature?
This is going a little too fast. Slow that down.
Yeah, that's going faster.
Slow this down a little bit.
That's off.
Yeah.
It's totally off.
No.
Now it's going slow.
Alright, so we collected our wort, as you could see. I realized that I don't know, I might have done the things wrong. I might have had to collect my first runnings a little bit before I started fly sparging, but it's my first time fly sparging on my own setup. Let's check on my marked dowel. I showed you my first homebrew Wednesday how much volume we had. So we have just about 7 gallons of wort, so I'm definitely gonna have to do like a 75-minute boil, which is what I planned on doing anyway, or I might have to do it longer. So at the end of, once it gets to a boil, at the end of maybe, at the end of like the 15 extra minutes, the 75 minutes, I'll check what the volume is, and if I feel like I wanna, boil it for 85 or 90 minutes to really caramelize it and reduce the volume, then I'll do so. Alright guys, so we've been boiling for about a half hour and it's under the 7-gallon mark now, enough. But just wanted to show you where we add the first hops. Enjoying Omega 15th anniversary, which my brother John bought to enjoy during Brew Day. So actually I just looked at on brewto.com at my recipe because I was pretty sure I tweaked the hop schedule a little bit. So it's going to be 1.25 ounces of the Willamette at 60 minutes, which I'm going to be counting once I drop the hops in, and then at 20 minutes the ounce of East Kent Goldings, and at 10 minutes 3/4 of an ounce of Willamette again. So let's go add in the 1.25 of Willamette. I really should have used a hop bag. I kind of forgot once I started adding it in, but for the last 2 additions I'll add in a hop bag just to save me some cleanup later. But with whole leaf hops you're not going to get as much trub as the pellets because they don't disintegrate as much, so I'm not too worried. But I'll probably use my muslin bags for the final 2 additions just to eliminate a little more trub. But it does smell freaking awesome, so I'll get back to you at the 20-minute hop addition. Alright, cheers. Alright guys, time for the 20-minute addition of an ounce of East Kent Goldings, and this time I did remember to put it in a muslin bag, so let's just drop it in. I'll get my brewing spoon and dunk it in a bit. Oh yeah. Alright guys, so we have 10 minutes left in the boil. I added in my immersion wort chiller, and now I'm gonna drop in my half a teaspoon of yeast nutrient and my Whirlfloc tablet, and of course my 10-minute hop drop of the last 3/4 of an ounce of Willamette hops. And it's definitely been a great boil so far. I'm really glad. The sparge was a little frustrating. I might have to trim my high temp hosing that I put on my bottling bucket, but beyond that we've had a pretty good brew day so far. So I'll be back once cool down, or I have another update. Alright, cheers. I'm not going to show you the gravity, but it's about 1.064 when I corrected it after it being 80 degrees, which is good enough for pitching. Anytime between 80 and 70 and 80 is good enough for pitching. Yeah, so I'm gonna pour in the yeast now and take off this lid, and I'll replace it with that sanitized lid in a second. I'm going to put it in that tub just in case I decide to do a thing where you add water and put water bottles in it. So I'm going to add the yeast, put it on the top with the airlock, and then lift it in there. And as you see, it's pretty well aerated with all those bubbles. So I'll be just at 5 gallons once I add the starter, because I definitely need a dip tube and to add in my definitely need a dip tube, and to put all my hops, especially whole leaf ones, into bags, because that's what I tried to tip the pot, but it didn't really work. So I'm gonna put in the whole starter because it's only a liter. And I'm gonna swirl up the yeast. Pour it in. That should be all of it. Take that off. Okay, I'll seal it up and I'll see you for the wrap up. Pretty good. So I'm gonna pour this sample into my Brooklyn Brewery glass and give it a taste. Right now it actually smells really hoppy. And then you can't really smell the roastiness. I really hope it doesn't come out like a black IPA. But let me give it a taste. A little bit bitter, but not really. You can definitely taste like the biscuitiness of the Victory malt, and a little bit of the roasted malt. A little bit of coffee in there, definitely a coffee flavor. But I really hope that morphs into more of a chocolate, but it definitely tastes very bready. I really like that really toasty, caramelly, bready flavor it has. Yeah, hops are more on the aroma of this sample. I really like, of course it's gonna morph completely when it gets down to temperature. My apartment cools down a little bit overnight, you know, and it gets down to temperature. I really didn't want to wait to pitch the yeast, so I just put it in. But I think I should be fine because my closet is now at like 72. So I'm leaving it open now just to, you know, as the apartment cools down, it should cool down and be totally fine. So. All right, guys. So we're about 18 hours later. I had a lot of, you know, first time brewing on the system and in this apartment jitters, waiting for it to start fermenting. I actually had to do the whole putting it in a tub with the water and the ice packs and all that stuff, and use wet towels to really draw the coldness to really cool it down. Right now my thermometer says it's fermenting at 70 degrees. And let's try to get you a bubble in the airlock. I mean, you could see the bubbles in there. There we go.